All right, everybody, we're back. We are back. And obviously you're clicking on this because you want to know what the hell we thought of the Batman without these little hints of, well, I'm not going to spoil this, and wow, I'm not going to spoil that. We're going to spoil everything. So if you haven't seen the movie, stupid to be on this show right now. I'll tell you that, because we're going to be spoiling the hell out of it. But you guys should show a little bit of class. Just an ounce. And look at this. The boys haven't even seen this. Look at that. Show some class. Hopefully that shirt will be on the store very soon. But show a little bit of class. Click the like button. All of it. The notification. The whole deal, everybody. It's the big thing. It's myself. It is Coy Jandreau and Winston Marshall. We're excited to get at it, man, because I haven't really talked to these guys. I talked to Winston about it a little bit because we saw it together, but I haven't really talked to Coy, who's seen it 75 times already. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the big thing. It is the Batman spoiler review. Let's get at it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. And what a show it will be. Last time we did Spider-Man, No Way Home, not only did it do close to 100,000 views, we went for 6 hours. We went 2 times longer than the Batman. It was long. But we're going to get at it. And so joining me, as always, Winston A. Marshall is here. Coy Jandreau is here. And
just make him a new acronym every week. Just what's the middle name this week?
And that's it. So, yeah, man, let's just get into this thing. So it looks like, and if correct me if I'm wrong, Winston and I liked the movie a lot. Coy loved it.
Yeah. Okay. No, I hate watching it the second and third time. Yeah, no, I'm really curious what you guys experience, because I know we generally see eye to eye on movies, but I think a few of your critiques are a few of my strengths. I'm really excited for this conversation.
I don't think really there's going to be. I don't think you're going to agree with yourself in a second here, because that
happens often.
Yeah, I think when my biggest critiques that I've been mentioning in the non-spoiler, and we can start with that, is it's to me, and I think Winston and we share the same thing. There's a few shots that go on really long. I thought it's 2 hour 40-minute movie or whatever it is. It could have easily been 2:15 and been fine. And the ending of the movie, to me, the entire movie that was so fascinating was the detective story that we've been waiting for Batman for so long. It was so great. The promise of Seven and Zodiac, they delivered 100 times over. But when you get to the ending to me was a bit comic booky and not the same thing. Like I didn't think it was as satisfying as the rest of the movie. I liked it, but didn't think it was as satisfying as because I was locked into this movie. Like the first half an hour, first 2 hours, I was on the edge of my seat going, okay. They kept going back and forth with that detective story when they did it, and then after the Riddler goes to jail, and I'm glad that now I can talk about these. After he goes to jail, that starts to tail off a little bit, and when they go so hard into the Selina Kyle, what's his name, Falcone storyline, that lost me a little bit. Is that so? Cool. Let me ask you, Batman lore. Was that ever an angle or that she was his daughter?
So what I really enjoyed is this is largely based on the long Halloween. It even starts on Halloween. They say dates, which is very long Halloween. I really thought this was going to be the long Halloween. What's great is I, as a comic book fan, watched the trailers and went, oh no, Falcone, guy with big, thick glasses, I figured out the ending. Because the long Halloween is the son of a Falcone is the big twist at the end, and Batman, Thomas Wayne's father, saves Falcone. So the sins of the father is the fact that Falcone only exists because of Thomas Wayne. Yeah. And that is a part of the movie. That is addressed, but I was so afraid the twist would be that Riddler was the son, or Riddler was the orphan in that way. Of course, Riddler is the orphan in the film, but not in that element. So the Selina Kyle is a twist on a twist. So it is part of comic lore, but they added an extra twist for comic fans so we wouldn't guess it from the trailers, because I was really worried ahead, because sometimes comic movies, if you've read the comic, you've kind of spelled it out, but in this case they twist on the twist.
I don't think Winston, did you I don't think I loved the fact that she was his daughter.
I didn't care. Yeah. I was fine. Honestly, I thought it was fine for them to take a few liberties and do that, and I thought that it worked. What we both kind of agree on, my issue was there were certain things that we put too much energy into that we didn't need to. So, for example, the biggest one for me, that by this point, I was like, I get it. The movie's over. They love each other. It's the motorcycle leaving the graveyard, because that ultimately ended up being 90 seconds worth of shot of them driving away. you could have got it done in 30 seconds. And it just kind of, it implemented more and more, or like it stamped more and more little things throughout the film.
It adds time, man.
It just adds time for no reason.
Sorry, I was going to interrupt. I didn't want to.
That's all I was kind of getting at. There would be little moments where this thing is beautifully shot. Let's be 100% honest.
Yeah.
This thing is gorgeous.
Oh yeah. So people who are watching right now, don't worry. This is probably the only negative stuff we're really going to say about.
I
this
agree.
Because I wanted to get it out of the way now because, like I said, the length is this stuff, and I don't want to harp on it. Like we've talked about it enough.
No.
The ending though, Coy, did you think the ending was a little, compared how? It was such a smart movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was so smart. It was so I loved that integration of the 7 just darker detective story. It was so close to going rated R. It just felt like it was rated R.
It was 15 in Europe, so that's like
it just felt it, and I was so on board with it that didn't the ending feel like a regular comic book movie?
Can I ask what you mean by ending? Are you specifically talking about dealing with everything in the arena, or are you
the
talking
stuff
about
in the arena? No,
Okay.
I don't remember the graveyard.
The graveyard was just a goodbye. I thought you meant the ending.
I'm talking about the main stuff.
Okay.
The arena, like when they go to Gotham Square Garden, which I love Gotham Square Garden, which is awesome. Like, and just the fact that anybody could be Riddler and it wasn't actually Riddler, it was just a bunch of lunatics up on the thing, and then it was, it didn't take them very long. What I loved about the scene was the continuation of the pure rage of Batman.
So I want to address a few things. First, your moment, and this is what I thought was going to happen, is one of the things that I thought was a strength is a lot of people's critique. Mm-hmm. And I like that this film isn't for everyone, and I like that it's not exactly approachable, and I enjoy the fact that every time it held on a frame too long, that was more lifelike. Like, life moves at you slowly in moments of duress, and there's times that you need to lean back and absorb the brooding and the gloom, and the atmosphere wouldn't work if it's shot like a modern movie. If this was 220 or 230, I don't think it would have worked.
Really?
I honestly feel, and that's why, and I thought this would be our difference of opinion, is I feel like this movie doesn't work if it's shorter because you need to feel the gloom and the dread you need to absorb into the movie. If this movie feels like an action film or even a thriller or even like David Fincher movies aren't things you have on comfortably.
I don't disagree with what you're saying here, but the thing is, I don't think if you lose what Winston's saying, if you're holding on a shot for an extra.
See, I think
20
those extra
seconds,
60 seconds are necessary because you're going
still get
like
the gloom, dude. You
30,
still, the
30
idea.
seconds of them saying goodbye versus 90 is a big difference.
When he shows up in that first scene and that beautiful, nobody's going to argue about the Michael Giacchino score, which is
perfect,
incredible,
it is period perfect.
When he shows up on that scene alone, I leaned over to Winston when that happened. I said, I fucking love this movie.
He did. We were 10 minutes in and already Christian's like, this is the greatest fucking Batman.
Well, okay, let's
great.
use your example of the last, because that's a perfect example of a scene that's longer. So you've got them, her taking off first, him watching her. That's 10 or 15 seconds. Yeah. You feel the remorse. You feel the things that you're saying we could do quicker. Then it's them going pace to pace, and that's you going like, hey, this is him in a moment saying goodbye and wanting to go with her. So that's him catching up to her and then riding pace to pace.
I read that less of that and more of like the nature of their relationship, which tends to be very cat and mouse, very playful. I don't have a problem with that. It went on for so long.
Each of these beats is a different thing, and we're just using this as the micro to the macro.
It was this. Do you have a 2-shot yet of me and Coy?
No, you know what? I can make one. I'll make one right
I'll
now.
let you make one, and I will show you.
In the next 3 hours of this review, we're going to get this 2-shot. It's going to change the game.
But again, there are moments where I think it's so appropriate. There's this really great angle they get of the dude when he has the bomb strapped to him at the funeral, where he is freaking out. Those holds are so important because you're like, oh my God,
the flare hold. There's a lot of good.
Those are all great. I'm not against any of that. I'm not even against the slow approach because we're dealing with a noir film. The slow approach in the beginning of Batman coming up on those clown gang members, because every time he walks in, the fact that it's like, thump,
that's thump. The brooding. That's that I'm saying the gloom is, I think, necessary.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just the one that sticks out the most because it was the very end, and I was like, Jesus Christ, okay. Was that last one. I'm excited to watch it again this weekend, so I can see if I can pinpoint other moments, because it was something that subconsciously I absorbed. They keep doing this. I did
feel like it could move faster the second time. And that's one of the first things I said to you is like, because you're in watching it the first time, there's such this dread. There's such this, that is positive for getting the tone across, but it's also hard. So I think the second time I was like, I know what's coming next. I know what I'm feeling. And you have the fun of like knowing what the mystery is. Like you have the piecing it together.
I get that. And so all that being said, man, like, I'm going to get into a lot of my goods. Like, first of all, in my ranking of Batman films, it's actually bumped itself up to my third favorite Batman film.
Wow.
Yeah.
It didn't pass.
Quinn, move that mic out of your way.
It didn't. It didn't pass Dark Knight or Begins, but it did pass every other Batman film for me. So I'm like, let it just be very well known. I actually really like this film.
Same. We're just, like, and here's the thing that Coy brings up that I definitely said in my reviews is that I definitely want to see this movie again because I feel that now that I know that it's a longer movie going into it, that I probably, as Coy just said, will have less problems with it once I watch it because there's so much to enjoy with it. I mean, even if we start with the beginning of the movie, right? And the idea of what I loved, and I think that there was like 3 or 4 times I leaned over to Winston and I said, I love the film noir thing that they're going with. You know, the most detective Batman that you ever got, for sure. And they start with the mayor who gets killed by the Riddler right away. And this, you know, the kind of tone that they're setting up for. And then the first time you see it, and the voiceover from Robert Pattinson, the something in the way that they use it. I didn't mind that they used it twice. I thought it was very well used. And then that score, it's almost like it's like pieced from that something in the way. There's just so much pain and angst with this version of Bruce Wayne. And I said that Bruce Wayne is hardly in this movie.
That's one of the strengths for me.
Yeah,
I love that we don't have Bruce Wayne yet.
That is not a weakness for me. I think that actually plays well in this because I think that Bruce Wayne has to discover. He's discovering himself, and they even say it, and the Riddler says it. That's who you are, dude. That's who you are.
He has to invent the Bruce Wayne persona, and a lot of people are like, I don't like Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. I'm like, we haven't met him yet. He's a broken figure that has a mask that is he literally eats berries. Like, he's Batman. He's eating bat food. Like, he hasn't figured out who Bruce Wayne Playboy is yet. So I love that personally.
No, and I get that because we're dealing with year 2, but it took me aback because the one thing we do know about Bruce, I think those first opening years as Batman, we see a lot of folly and fault there. But kind of what we got from Batman Begins, this whole art of deception, it's not that he had mastered being Bruce Wayne yet, but he felt comfortable enough in his Bruce Wayne skin to let people see whatever said Playboy so he can go and do whatever he wants.
Right.
So, like, if we had seen a couple stumbles here and there, it'd be one thing. It's another thing for all of a sudden for him to still be full-blown kind of like depressed teenager mode when, again, his parents were murdered at 10. Dude's like 20-something at this point.
I think it addresses the mental illness that Bruce Wayne has a little cleaner because if you're
he's stable.
If you're willing to punch dudes in the face to solve a problem to that level, like, you're not okay. So I think having him be that broken helps the believability, the groundedness.
I get it, but to me, what you're talking about, someone not being okay in that regard, that is when he's having those rage moments. So, like, for example, at the end, he hits the adrenaline shot, and so his rage fully goes over, and he's beating the ever-loving hell out of that last dude dressed like the Riddler before he snaps at it like, yo, you got him. You know what I mean? So...
But I bought emo Wayne. Like, if I like the idea that, like, some people, you know, cope by having a persona, some people cope with sadness, and I think we need more movies that have multiple people being cast as different archetypes.
I just think it's a little more realistic this way, even more so than Bale.
Bale,
because this is the kind of mentality that you would go through if this is what you.
Because if he's sorrowful inside and playboyish outside, there's a bigger dichotomy.
Yeah, I think you're right. We haven't seen that version of him yet because he's still creating it, and that's what Andy Serkis is trying to get out of him.
Right,
and he's saying you gotta play the part.
He was
here,
shocked
brother.
to see him in a suit. Like, that's an important moment.
Yeah.
I bought it at moments like when he realized he has to go talk to Falcone and see, is my dad really a horrible person?
Yeah.
I bought those moments because now he's having a crisis of conscience. He's like, have I been wasting my time for no reason? Like, is my dad actually a mobster himself? Right. That I totally, but like, for him to kind of keep that tone the whole time, it was a good performance from Robert. It didn't fully fit for me in that regard, just because, again, he is so hell-bent on this vengeance tour, and even calling himself Vengeance.
How recently have you read, I don't know if you have, Frank Miller, and I forget the artist's name right now, but Year One?
It's been a minute.
Because the year one Bruce Wayne
Right.
is kind of just a shell of a man. And I know this is year two, but it's early year two. So I feel like it embodies that I don't know who I am yet. What do I represent?
That didn't bother me at all. I actually really liked that.
Okay, yeah, me too. It was one of the strengths for me.
100%, because he is still inside of all that pain and figuring out. He doesn't really care. He's kind of detached. And that's why I like this version. The people were like, oh, he's going to have a very different relationship with Alfred here.
Yeah.
And he does. And I like that because we haven't seen that side of it. So when we see him trying to figure it out and Alfred trying to pull it out of him, and then that wonderful scene that they have in the hospital.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Which is such a great scene. Yeah, it's just so really, so all of that fit together very well.
This is my favorite Commissioner Gordon Batman relationship.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think that was the stuff that as I mentioned with the detective stuff, I just remember, and even though it was very, very far, nothing compared to the Adam West Batman tone.
Sure.
But the stuff I used to love about the Adam West Batman was when Batman and Commissioner Gordon would work together in trying to figure out the crime.
Because you've got the trust. He doesn't trust Batman, then he doesn't trust cops. He doesn't trust this, but they form this bond, and then you see that come to a beautiful, rare comedic moment, and that the like
punches
you got to
him.
I love that.
And they're like angrily glaring. He's like, I think he moonlights as a cop. That whole sequence is peak.
And
Batman.
how about when he says to him, yeah, you should have pulled the punch. I did.
Like there's
his voice, the Batman voice rocked.
Yes, it was absolutely the way to do it.
So good. He was like, he didn't overcook it.
Yep.
He wasn't talking like this.
No, he just dropped an octave.
And I love Bale, but as compared to, this is the best.
We've now
Batman
gone through
voice.
the movies. We can compare. Now, I'll give my one main negative, so you guys don't seem like contrarians. And then we'll get into the positives, because there are many.
There's a lot.
My main negative is the movie is so grounded because of the things that I like that a lot of people won't, like holding long shots, like letting it be emo Batman because he would be, letting the movie feel somber in 70s. This movie has more DNA with Chinatown than Batman Begins. This movie is very methodical. That said, it does make the dichotomy between the real and the extra real, the surreal, the just elevated beyond reality, too much. So I loved Penguin. I loved Riddler. I loved those things. I loved Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I don't know how much I'm gonna.
Oh my God, that was Tweedledee and Tweedledum. How did I not catch that?
The twins, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. The guns got in the door.
Oh, yeah, right.
But I did not, because of that, love a couple moments like the glider sequence worked for me on top and on bottom. But when he's soaring, there was a couple extra shots that I was like, ooh, this doesn't quite fit the universe. And then the big one was the Joker. I've got to acknowledge that scene would have worked. We were talking about before as a post-credit scene, because in the middle of the movie, it felt like
it wasn't in the middle,
but like within the film, within the framework of the 2 hour 56. I had an issue with the movie feeling super grounded, and then we have this full-on Arkham sequence that doesn't feel like the same Arkham that we just visited Riddler in.
Go ahead.
It's not just that. It was the timing of when we decided to visit.
So I'm saying, like, in the framework of the film.
That should have been we talked about this off camera. That should have been a post-credit scene.
Because it wasn't that the scene is bad, and it wasn't that the movie couldn't allow for that Joker, and I think Barry Kogan's going to kill it.
I got to call Winston on this.
Did he say that exactly?
I did say exactly.
What planet were you on?
I literally said those words.
Coy was being nice, because you.
I was listening.
I was letting it go by.
What you should have said was, what I just said, you motherfucker.
Look.
You just said those exact words.
I'll be 100% honest. I recently, because someone else in my family just got tested for ADHD and found out that they have it. I genuinely think, because I heard what Coy said.
And then repeated it back.
But for some reason, my brain didn't process it. So all I heard was, this didn't fit. I didn't hear him say time-wise.
You legit. Coy went. So yeah, it just didn't fit in the context of the movie. It would have been great as a post-credit scene. You went. Not only that, it didn't fit in the context.
But it would have been a great post-credit scene.
And I was not going to let you get away with that. Man, I just couldn't. I couldn't let you get away with that.
I didn't mean to, because I heard what Coy said, but my brain just
Coy was so nice.
I literally was like,
Coy was so nice. He didn't, because you could see it in his face. He's like, I just said that.
I heard the English.
I literally thought I was wrong. Like, I looked to you so sincerely. I was like, I must not have said what I was thinking. Man, I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
I apologize. I apologize. So, Winston was not home for all.
that was amazing.
90 seconds.
You were on a different
for a
planet.
90-second shot of Batman and Catwoman driving off. And Winston was not home.
I want to rewatch that because I like in my brain was going like I thought I said that out loud, but I must have said the quiet parts in my. Okay.
No,
He needs some milk.
Yeah, I do.
Gotta get this man back on the planet. But you agree with me. I think you might agree with me. Verbatim.
I agree with you. It's just. It's literally from the standpoint of we look at Penguin, and let's talk about Colin Farrell for a second.
Steals every scene he's in.
Well, wait, before you get to Colin Farrell, because we're going to spend a lot of time. I want to address the
moment. Yeah, the Barry Keoghan, because I think Keoghan will kill it.
I like him a lot. I didn't realize until you said that's who it was, because I also didn't love that scene. I think I agree with you and Winston apparently that it would have been better as a post-credits scene. Because it would have been more effective that way, and it almost sets up who we're getting on the next one. But it just seems so out of place at the time that it was put in there, and as you were saying, the tone of it
just didn't fit the rest of the film.
Shifted with the rest of it,
and then it went back to the tone.
Right,
that was the issue.
Right,
what we're saying is
and
it goes like
because
I don't mind if you look at the movie itself. It's actually Batman going from vengeance to Batman.
I don't know. I actually think it's Batman going from vengeance to Batman. Splish splash, I was taking a bath and I noticed I have beautiful balls. That's right. Our friends at MANSCAPED, the global leaders in below-the-waist hygiene, they're turning men's shower dreams into their favorite routine with the all-new Ultra Premium Collection. It's an all-in-one hygiene skin and hair bundle, and it's designed to upgrade the every man's shower routine from head to toe. Your skin, your hair, your balls, they deserve it. Save big by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping, but you have to use the code BIGTHING. So much that I love Manscaped for. As you guys know, we've been with Manscaped for a while now, and whether it's the 2-in-1, the shampoo, the body wash, the nose trimmers, all of it, I use it all the time. It's hard for me to even think of a time in my life when I don't use Manscaped. I love it. I love it. And just to walk you through the Manscaped, just the shower routine, you lather on the cologne infused ultra premium body wash with the aloe vera and the sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean and moisturized all day. Step 2, you have the hair care. You just use the 2-in-1 shampoo. It cleanses and nourishes in one step. And then step 3, you hop out of the shower. You protect yourself from body odor by applying on the Manscaped aluminum-free deodorant. If you have tattoos or dry skin, hit your skin with the hydrating body moisturizer spray. Apply the Manscaped lip balm for step 5. It's a free gift when you purchase the Ultra Premium Collection. And last, but certainly not least, the Lawnmower 4.0. The electric trimmer to clean off any unwanted body hair. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's waterproof, so you bet it's a major key to the new shower routine. Oh, man, it's so good. And if you guys haven't tried it yet, here you go. 20% off, free shipping. Use the code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. It's time to get wet and clean with your new Manscaped shower routine. You like that? All right. All right, now back to Batman.
I agree. I agree. Did I say that?
We're just gonna go. Wow.
So I feel like in the same way we see Bruce Wayne start to develop the persona, we see him go from vengeance to Batman. I also think we can go from a movie that's grounded to escalate, get to that Joker. But I would have loved 3 minutes of credits in between to let me settle and then, bring that elevation up, because the next movie can have more comic elements. We already have had Gotham Flood. I think we are getting War of Jokes and Riddles, which I know we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And I think as a post-credit scene, that Joker scene works.
Just look. Did y'all ever watch the movie Pootie Tang?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Do you remember where Chris Rock had his boy with him all the time? He's like, man, it's so hot outside. It's so hot, I should be butt-ass naked. It's hot as hell, man. I should be down in Africa right now. If I was in a slave time, I'd be out here being like, damn, I want some water. And then his friend goes, yeah, and it's hot out here, too. I literally feel that's just y'all are just gonna roast me for that shit for the man.
Yeah, I mean,
this is no longer a Batman review.
The question is, why were you doing that?
I wish I knew.
I wish I knew, man. I wish I knew.
All right, let's try to get back on track.
Okay.
So so that scene.
My only negative, really.
Yeah,
and that still isn't huge. It's just I would have liked the introduction to be a little smoother.
Well, the question is when they bring. What I will say also, and it's not a Matt Reeves thing, it's probably a Warner Brothers thing. I just, with all the other villains that they could possibly bring in, and I'm usually always on board for the Joker. It's like, let's give the Joker a break. We had a Joker singles movie. We had Heath Ledger. We've had, what's his face, Jared Leto. We've had all these Jokers recently. I'm not saying don't ever use them again. But
I'd make him the third movie villain.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd personally go Mr. Freeze, build up Court of Owls. Third movie, War Jokes and Riddles, if they let him do a fourth Court of Owls full blown.
Whatever, yeah, it's like anything. Look, I would be okay with Two-Face again. I would be okay with Scarecrow again.
I would say go a whole new direction and go with Hugo Strange.
Fine.
Like literally,
in the asylum.
Because now that you've been introduced to Arkham,
as a foundational,
that is a perfect way to segue to Strange. Yeah. And then if you want to bring some of the other villains into it because of that, that's fine.
And that keeps Joker and Arkham.
And they very well might be doing that. And what I will say though, on the positive side, I do like the fact of the Joker and the Riddler working together. Yeah, that we haven't seen yet.
The War of Jokes and Riddles, you'd love. It's only 6 issues, man. It's literally the Joker has lost his ability to laugh. Yeah, and it's Riddler trying to get Joker to laugh again. Right, and it's this. Oh, it's
so this I like, because what we can do then we'll navigate the conversation with, because I do want to get to Colin Farrell, but let's stay there and go with the Riddler, because I can see the argument for it. I might be making the argument for it that Paul Dano was the standout of the movie, right? Like I've seen a lot of people talking about it, but I could see the argument for it. He was really fantastic because it's a different side of the Riddler. It is absolutely that John Doe Riddler. What I loved about what I've been saying, what they pitched in this trailer, you got. Like,
also, can we talk about the fact that the trailers were mainly from the third act of the film? So many of the iconic shots, like the flare shot, that's the end of the movie. Okay. The kid carrying out is literally one of the last shots in the film. Yeah. All the shots we saw from the paparazzi photos were the last bike scene chase. Right. Most of the things we were exposed to were the third act. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where I was like, wait a second, now that it's over, this is the stuff I'd seen. Yeah. Like all the trailers, even the last shot of Penguin was the first shot of Penguin.
The only major Act 1 shot that they pulled
was the Vengeance.
Was like, who the hell do you...
But otherwise, even the penguin shots, that golden penguin shot was the last shot of them.
And they duped us a few times too in the trailer, which I like. Like one of the main dupes was where people kept saying, "Oh, it looks like Riddler knows it's Bruce Wayne."
Genius.
It was really smart, because I was getting upset at the end. I'm like, well, we already know. You showed me in the trailer that he knows who he is. And he said, Bruce Wayne, and I'm like, okay, we know that you know who he is. And then he's like. And then you see Bruce Wayne, he's like, he doesn't know that.
The second he says he's the only one we didn't get is... Yeah. Now, I know we just said we'd stay on Paul Dano, but I need to acknowledge that Pattinson's eyeballs are the best thing I've seen portray a comic book character. Good. Like, literally just really this. Because he did this incredible thing where the white of the bat eyes is the thing everyone wants to see, because the animated series. So he would always be looking offsides to have as much white as possible, but he'd also stay menacing and low, so he was looking aggressively at people. So he maximized the white of his eyeballs while showing empathy, while showing rage, while showing all these things. He was like Tom Hardy eyeball acting.
No guns.
Yeah. It was so good.
Yeah.
The eyeballs of Pattinson.
No, it was absolutely...
my new band.
It was absolutely... It's absolutely great in that regard. Specifically, you mentioned Dano. I think it's an honest, even split between Dano and Farrell for me.
Farrell's really good.
Because
I would also not argue against that.
I genuinely believe it is a 50-50 split, and if they both, we already know because of how the Academy works. But if you were to give nominations out for anything, if you were to both nominate Farrell and Dano for supporting actor, I would be completely on board, just because we saw plenty of Dano in the ransom screamings and the riddle with the dude with the bomb and all that. That's great. But then obviously you get Arkham Dano and you're like, holy shit.
The cafe shot.
Yeah,
for me,
cafe shot
when the cop had his forearm on his neck,
starts to smile,
and his face goes through 8 emotions, and then his reverence of Batman that you don't realize is reverence till the reveal.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the straight up stuff. That's the John Doe
genius. Right. He's the Zodiac killer.
Absolutely, it is, and they play that very, very well inside of it. But Colin Farrell, as we jump into that now, he's unrecognizable. First of all, the makeup is
the amount of crap I got. Dude, the first trailer came out, and I was like, Colin Farrell looks great in this, and the amount of internet trolls that were like, Colin Farrell's not in this, and I was like, Colin Farrell's the Penguin. They're like, no, he's not, and I literally have been waiting for this movie to come out.
Yeah, he is unrecognizable. So good. He is completely lost into the role, and he jacks into the part of Penguin that he wants to kind of be this big time thing. He's not actually out here trying to mix it up and cause trouble until you step on his toes, and then the Penguin a switch flips where he goes full mobster. He's like, you want to fuck with my money?
Right.
You want my money?
Twice we see it, and it's beautiful because he stays controlled in the club until not.
Many times he does it, and this is why, like as we mentioned in the beginning of it, sure, the length, sure, things with the comic book tone. You can't argue that the music is beautiful, the direction is beautiful, the writing is brilliant. Because the writing inside of this, and what they did a couple different times, as I'm saying, where they dupe us, where you could assume, okay, it looks, I thought Penguin could be the rat. I'm like, all right, maybe he's the rat. And then
I love that the bad Spanish, the scene with him saying, like, do you guys not speak
hilarious.
No habla español?
Yeah,
like, that's so Penguin.
Funny.
And when he's doing that whole thing, and when that thing that we see in the trailer when Batman is going after him in the Batmobile and coming after him, and then he corners him, and finally he gets to that spot, and he's just like, I'm the definition of a gangster. Like he's a pure definition of the gangster, and he wouldn't rat anybody out. That was the moment that I said, now I know why they greenlit the HBO Max show.
I cannot wait to see 6 hours of Penguin.
That's
now
I know. Now I understand why.
Yeah.
And now it's actually a beautiful lead into the next movie.
They said it's going to be within the next 5 years for Batman 2, so it could be a bit. What I love is we're getting a Penguin show. It sounds like an Arkham tie-in.
We're not getting the HBO Max show for a little while?
No, the Batman 2 for a little while. We're getting Penguin soon.
Right.
So this is a way to show Gotham as it adjusts, and then you can set Batman 2 in real time.
Yeah.
You can have Batman
glad that
come
Colin
later.
Farrell finally got a movie, though, that because the movies that he's always great. He's one of my
he's always stuck being handsome.
But he's one of my he's one of my
like he's one of my favorite actors, but he's always too handsome.
He good looking too.
He good looking too.
But he's been in stuff that just, you know, whether his best performance, in my personal opinion, was what he did in this Mr. Banks, the
Saving Mr. Banks, Tom Hanks movie.
That's good.
In Bruges for me, man.
He was really good in Bruges, but he did something. He was way more vulnerable in Mr. Banks. If you go back and watch Mr. Banks again, to me, that's his best performance. He was passed over for that. Everybody was talking about other people, not him. He's been every franchise he always joins, it doesn't pop the way it does. Fantastic Beasts, where they ruined him. He should have been the guy.
Not keeping him was such a, and now there's been 3 characters as that guy.
And now that's why I'm not going to argue against him being one of the main standouts, because he is in this, and now him getting his own show. It's absolutely the right call, because it leads up now with him being the gangster inside of it. I wouldn't mind him being the main guy in the second movie.
I honestly feel like he's Irish Brad Pitt, where like you look at him and you cast him as a certain thing, and he doesn't always want to play that thing. Yeah. So for me, this was getting to see Colin Farrell go like, I want to play a character part. Let me sink my teeth into it. Let me go full crazy, and that's going to allow for 6 hours of that in a show. We're going to get a mafia, crime element hierarchy. We could get Narcos in Gotham. We're going to get so many ways to introduce like B and C level villains. This is where you could put like Condiment King and weird stuff. Yeah, sure. Like you could do all of that at HBO Max, and apparently it's going to be R-rated because of the success of Peacemaker.
Right.
So because of all this, and apparently Colin Farrell was like fighting for a cigar and a few things you can't do in R-rated in PG-13 movies. Yeah. Since Peacemaker was so successful, we're going to get a very different Penguin than we've ever seen. So I think Colin Farrell, for me, was the MVP next to the Pattinson eyes. But Colin Farrell, like, doesn't get to do this enough, and I really think hopefully this is a let actors put on weird makeup and do this stuff and like dive in it and trust in them, because this was beautiful.
Well, and like this is the kind of stuff, to be honest with you, all of the now if you already mentioned Scorsese and I missed something, say something now.
Not yet. Okay, where we're going.
Great. So if this is a moment where all of a sudden if this is something,
it's actually Scorsese.
if this is where Scorsese if this is where, you know, I think you can already make an argument with a lot of stuff we've seen superhero-wise that it's still cinema and all that, and I know that he's been a big... But this is one of those moments where what you see out of Farrell, what you see out of Dano, what you're seeing out of Pattinson, you can throw everything he said out the window, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you should have thrown it out the window the second he said it.
I agree
But
with
this
that.
is the... Even like I said, this is more like Logan evolved. Like this is, you know what I mean? Like
yes.
It's a film.
I'm very curious to see now, because we do have a lot of random DC properties that are floating about right now. How much, for example, does Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad tie to this? If it does,
I don't think it touches it.
I think that they might be separate universes.
I think Matt Reeves wants that, and I think we should keep it that way. I think keep this as far from everything as possible.
I agree, and I think you have plenty of different iterations, and the fact that we have multiverses, so if you even want to one day let that be the anchor in, I'm cool with that
DC
too.
Black Label doesn't touch the regular books. To me, this felt like DC Black Label, where like, you know, the rest of DC can dabble.
Yeah.
This feels like it's a different prestige format book. It's bigger. It even feels like it's on different paper.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, also the way this is shot, having the edge of frames be kind of, you know, that when the distortion happens because the lenses you use on film stock. I love that there are moments you could grab a frame and it would look like a Scorsese film from the 70s.
Not only that, but I like that you can like take a frame that looks like a Scorsese moment.
No, since we're going actor by actor, and I do want to go back to Pattinson, but I think Zoe Kravitz doesn't get enough love, and I know Zoe wasn't
Their
playing.
chemistry is so good, and really sexy, and
she played the version of Commissioner Gordon. Like, she was the inverse of Gordon. Like, there's even a shot where, you know, Batman's walking through all the cops, and there's that same tension, and then he's walking through the 44 Club that she got him in. So Gordon got him into the cops, she got him into the criminals, and I feel like that duality is in the comic books, but they really showed it in the movie.
And I do like the idea of how when she's got the when he's got the tech on, watching through her eyes, and she gets frustrated with it, and everything that was going on, like, because I didn't even know what was going on with Skarsgård. You know, when he goes in there and he's the DA, right?
Yeah.
And so as that, and I was, because you've seen him play so many different characters, so you don't know where he's going to go. He could be sadistic, he could be charming, he could be anything. So, but the casting in this movie was so well done because people who you normally think could be good, could be bad, could be slimy, they played it all over. And Totoro's another one, right? With Falcone. Yeah.
Dude, because I think I even said that to you. I was like, "That's Totoro, right?" The only thing I could think of, even though I know we said a lot,
the first one you referenced.
It's like, yo, is that old boy from Transformers? He's like, that's where you went.
And I was like, I said that. I was like, not do the right thing. You go with Transformers.
It was purely because I had just done a rewatch of Transformers for Rotten Tomatoes thing, so my brain went to the last thing I saw him in.
Okay, not Jesus.
It was purely because it was the last thing I saw him in, not a day prior. So like that's why. But I just literally was now, because then the sad thing is, you know what my second reference for Totoro was? You don't mess with the Zohan.
Oh man, you think of his career very differently than I do. You're going to be on red carpet and be like, and now we're with Transformers' own John Turturro.
Yeah, ain't it right?
Bitch.
Well, I'm actually sure he wouldn't be upset because he's just like, dude, I bought 7 of my houses.
Yeah, he's like, that's actually cool.
He bought so many houses.
Because he's in like 3 of those, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the first 3, I believe.
Yeah, so he got money.
But either way, man. So like the casting was so well done, and the idea and what they did with Falcone too. And I like that. I like the way that they maneuvered around to finally show that he was the rat and he was the idea. And then the way that even that the piece that Selena gets when she sees that he's dead.
Yeah.
And that she didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
You saw that.
That line
goes
from Batman, the line from Batman where it's like he needs to pay, but you don't have to, is so... I'm so glad they addressed the no guns and the no killing so head on, and then why it applies, and through Catwoman why it applies. He saved Catwoman while saving his own one rule, and I think that's such beautiful storytelling, because that's like the third act resolution.
1,000%, but I love that the contrast to that is the fact that, again, when we go back to him hitting the adrenaline, and like because he's trying to do everything he can to save all these people down below, the fact that he is constantly, as we know about Batman, riding a very thin line. He is constantly on the edge of just murdering everyone himself.
Yeah.
And so to see him lose it because knowing the Riddler had planned this far in advance, he'd already murdered all the people he had murdered, and now was about to flood and kill all of Gotham, and if the water didn't do it, his gunmen would. Like, he was clearly had enough, especially seeing Serena almost getting killed in front of him. So
no, I liked the Riddlers at the end because I felt like it represented the inverse of the bat symbol, where it's like in Batman you always have like people rising up, and in this you've got the Riddler rising up and then other people following him. And I've heard from a few people that didn't like the whole like he's an online persona and Twitter follower, but to me that reads like, this is kind of dark, and the movie's dark, but this reads like the evolution of Columbine, like the real problem of the cool kids, Batman, Bruce Wayne, orphan, versus the kids that feel like they're put out in the cold, people dying every day in this orphanage. No, it felt real.
It did feel real, and there was it was eerie, it was creepy, that was the point.
Yeah.
And the idea of what I didn't mind the idea of it. Okay. I didn't mind it just and how could you get him there, because he's supposed to be in jail, and his whole point, his whole mission was the fact that he was like the anti-Batman. Right. It was more about, it didn't have to be him, it could be anybody. So it's not that I didn't like it. It was just like I don't know. Maybe it was the movie purist in me that wanted to see the villain versus the hero at the end.
Interesting.
But I understand because in hindsight, you did get that. He fought the same way he's been fighting the whole movie. So that to me is less of a concern.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just and I think it'll change with the rewatch.
There were two things that were interesting about watching that with you, Kristian. Because the first thing I hear what you're saying about me also thinking, wait, you beat the main boss, but you still have a fight left. But to be honest with you, the Riddler of all of his rogues gallery
would have that. So.
Yeah.
He is not physical.
Right.
There are very few elements where Riddler in any iteration decides he wants to go hand to hand with Batman. He is constantly messing with him, whether it's with the riddles or with henchmen. So that actually I bought pretty well.
Yeah.
It was really funny because Kristian hated the fact that the mayor decided to go out and try and calm people down. And I was like, that actually reads my... He's like,
no. That's not why I got upset.
You said because someone said it was dangerous. Why are you going out there? And I was
to say this, if she says, I need to make a speech here, I need to tell people, and the commissioner goes, don't go out there, and she's like, I got to go. And he goes, all right. And doesn't go. No one goes with
Your
her.
problem was with Commissioner, not
my
with
problem
Mayor.
was that no one went with her.
I thought it was with her doing that.
I think it was silly for her to go out by herself when she knows that there's stuff going on. That it's like, okay, fine.
They didn't know shooters yet. They didn't know shooters.
Doesn't matter. There's a crazy lunatic out there. Anything can happen, and she's a elected official.
But that's why I bought that.
His leadership, like she wanted to show.
I honestly bought that.
But it's bad leadership. Because she should because she's such a good leader and she's making such a difference that she should know that she can't sacrifice herself. She should say, all right, then, hey, a-hole number 1, a-hole number 2, I'm making a speech, let's go. And they should be flanking her because she goes out there and she gets shot.
But it's the same thing as like Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face, where like he puts himself in the line of fire to be the face, the figurehead. Like she wants to be the figurehead.
But he doesn't just basically step out. I mean, you could...
He clocked that dude with the gun in the middle of the court. Like he does it proactively. I think she was being proactive.
I'm siding with Coy on this one where I get what you're saying, where like you're supposed to protect the king at all costs, right? I get that. I think that was one of those moments that you see in all of those speeches that where you have.
I get why she did it. What I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense for whoever it is. Like the Secret Service.
I'm saying the Gordon was the issue.
What I'm saying,
Gordon is the issue.
Hold on. If the Secret Service is protecting the president,
right?
And the president, and they say, sir, you shouldn't do that. And the president goes, I'm going. The Secret Service just stands behind. They go.
Yeah.
So whether or not it's not her choice. So it's not me arguing with the choice that she should have went. Her character choice was, I don't give a shit who's out there. I'm making this choice.
Right.
Where was her protectors? I don't care. Well, they're saving people inside. No, they're going to flank her at all times. That's what I'm saying.
Same page.
I will buy that 1,000%. The way you were positioning it before is like it was stupid for her to go, and I was like, well, yeah, but she's putting herself in danger.
Yeah, it was ballsy. It was ballsy and stupid for her to go, but it's not. She in no world should she have the character. The character was set up to where she wouldn't go. All right, I'm not going to go. She should go.
Right.
But anyone who's the people watching her. You better protect her ass because if not, it's not her fault. It's your fault she got shot.
Sure.
So
I'll give you that.
That's where I was coming from. It just made no sense that she would go out there by herself. She wouldn't. And I'll tell you what Batman needs. Batman has to pay attention to his lawn. Who the hell's taking care of Wayne Manor when he's running around beating up criminals? Because I know you guys aren't thinking about it, but spring, it's almost here. So close. The grass, it's almost that feeling under our feet. It's almost there, but you have to get your lawn back in shape. And thankfully, Sunday, that's what they do. It gets your lawn growing and it helps it keep it healthy all season long. Most of us might not think about our lawns in the winter, but this is the time right now. You got to prep for this year, and you're probably thinking you have so much work in order to do it. Oh my God, I don't want to do that right now. It's got to get it green, to get it healthy again. It's going to take forever. But Sunday, it takes all the work out of it for you. Sunday can help you grow a beautiful lawn without the guesswork or the nasty chemicals. All you have to do is visit getsunday.com. You put in your address and their lawn analysis tool does the rest. Then they use soil and climate data to create a personal nutrient plan and deliver it to your door whenever you need it. The best part about all this stuff is that it works. It really works. And the good thing is that Sunday is offering our listeners 20% off. Full season plans start at $129 and you can get 20% off at checkout. But you got to visit getsunday.com/bigthing20. That's 20% off your custom plan at getsunday.com/bigthing20.
So we talked Zoe, we talked Penguin, we talked Riddler, we talked Batman, we talked Alfred briefly.
Andy Serkis, briefly.
But Jeffrey Wright, I think, is
did a great job.
like what a great. We talked about them together.
Yeah.
But I think as far as the Commissioner Gordon goes, I want that GCPD show. I see why that's happening.
Oh, is that happening?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was afraid of hearing his voice and equating him to the 100 roles I equate his voice with because his voice is so iconic.
Yeah.
It'd be like if James Earl Jones was Commissioner Gordon. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to separate.
What if?
Yeah, exactly. But as soon as he was on camera, I was like, oh, he's incredible at that pre-commissioner.
That's what
Lieutenant
I
Gordon.
thought Matt Reeves did very well here by directing all these actors is that we've seen Batman so many different times. They really made it their own.
Yeah.
Everyone is a new take.
Really made it their own. And the idea of it, even though you're so familiar with Gordon and Batman, you got to see this version of them working together. And the idea, like, everyone's like, Jim, what are you doing bringing this lunatic around? And he's like,
Right.
I got it. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I trust this guy. And I loved that we didn't have to get into it again with how he met him, how he did this. It was
No pearls.
Well, Winston and I were talking about it too. We're not sure where it took place. Is it year one? Or, and then they mentioned
They show the book in the beginning of year 2.
Genius.
I actually love the fact that Bruce is keeping journals.
Yeah.
That was interesting too, to be honest with you. That was the kind of jacking in of I'm not mentally okay.
Yeah.
The fact that he is like, I need to document all of this.
Yeah, he wakes up the next morning and reminds himself what happened. And I love the use of the combination of technology and insight. Like it's an analog journal with the technology of the glasses. Like it's so Batman detective, not Batman supercomputer.
Right.
It wasn't because I could see another version of this having him like narrate to his computer. Like the Bat computer would be, but instead it's him literally. And I love that mirroring the Riddler with all of his journals and logs. Like 'cause he's just as close to losing his mind.
But that goes back to what we were talking about with Bruce, what I liked, where Alfred's trying to get him to come back and be a version of Bruce Wayne that people see, you know, and we have seen, and even Michael Caine version did the same thing, where he's just like, you got to put on the part because he's so just wrapped up in this vengeance.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it was where I just liked what I was worried about, and I'm glad that they duped me again twice. Or 2 or 3 times in this movie, but with the Thomas Wayne stuff.
Yeah.
Because what I was worried about was that they were going to go the same route they went with Joker with Thomas Wayne, that he's just a bad dude. I didn't mind it in Joker because Joker's
that
like
movie's so just negative.
It's just it's a side story, and it's like just an alternate world, right?
But it's also the interpretation I always took out of Joker anyway is none of that shit is real.
Yeah,
right?
unreliable
He's telling
narrator.
a story to the therapist.
Absolutely. So that doesn't bother me at all in Joker. But in this one, I'm like, are they going to make Thomas Wayne a bad dude? And he's not a bad dude. He made a bad choice.
Yeah.
And who doesn't relate to that?
And I love that the Thomas Wayne thing, like I was talking about with saving Falcone from the comics, ties into that bad choice because you go like, oh, he saved this guy's life. He's in desperation. That is who he turned to. And that is how mistakes happen, because that's a bad guy. Not him as a bad guy.
And what Alfred says, and he's like, I thought my dad was a good man. He's like, he was a good man. He's like, he just made a bad choice.
Yeah.
He's like, it wasn't for his political career. It was for your mother.
And the Martha Arkham thing's fairly new, and it was really cool to see that little twist because it ties in the legacy of Gotham.
Well, it also, I love that. I love that they kind of went into because there's a lot of that you see in the Arkham games, and the Court of Owls. There's a lot of like what is at the core of Gotham as a city, its history, and all that. But I also love how it loosely ties into what essentially happens in Flashpoint. When Bruce gets killed, Martha loses her mind and becomes the Joker.
So
there's a hint of like Martha is on the edge, which also explains Bruce's own mental illness.
Well, they did that a lot in this movie, and another one of the things that they pulled from that speech from Alfred, which I loved, was that it's like when they play on the lore of comics, and you're like, well, that's not how it really happened. But well, wait a minute, because he's like, it wasn't Maroni, it was Falcone who potentially killed Bruce's parents. He's like, he killed my parents. Like, it could have been a random guy too.
He literally described the way we've seen it 100 times.
It could have been anybody just that night. I don't know. And it's like, that was so brilliant. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
30 seconds of dialogue. They gave us the entire origin we've seen. They also, when he called him Zorro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it could have,
so
it could have been Napier, right?
Yeah.
It could have been some random guy.
Joe
that was
Chill,
And then I was like, oh, that's so great. And I think that when you that scene, that was my probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie.
I also, in the sequence we're talking about with Martha, there's a great comic book nod that I don't know if you caught the Hush reference.
Yes, I did.
So the reporter they're talking about, Elliot, is one of the big bads of modern Batman, where it's a guy that grew up with Batman. He's a plastic surgeon that can change his face constantly.
Which guy is that?
He's Hush. So he's wrapped in
No. Which guy in the movie?
The reporter that was trying to reveal Martha's thing. The guy that Thomas accidentally had killed. So in the comic books, that's a character who is a big bad that's a mystery for 12 issues. A big detective story that goes through all of Batman's villains. It's this awesome, like, kind of a Sinister Six-S story where Batman is just taking out villain after villain for a detective story. That could also be in the sequel. Hush should be badass.
If you remember, that was my prediction, is that we were going to end up having a Hush scenario.
That's right.
So there was a nod to it, obviously, like you said, with the reporter. See, I was paying attention.
Hey, Winston and I listen to each other. Look at us go on a show.
but that was for me what I was also kind of looking. I was expecting that's where this was going because the interpretation they did of Hush as the animated film was that Hush wasn't Elliot. It was the Riddler, had the tumor, got the whole dip in the pits, Lazarus pits, and then that supercharged his brain. So that's how he immediately was like, oh, duh, Bruce Wayne is Batman. And then like kind of went from there. You know what I mean? So I was kind of expecting maybe that's where this was all going to tie in. I also found it really interesting. I kind of like the fact that Riddler had these multiple aliases. So you had the Edward Nygma kind of nod as a possible, but you're really just not sure, well, which one is it? And he just like,
you choose.
Oh, and the way he was talking to him, and every time he would do that, what Winston just did, it sounded like a scream, but then it would go into a sentence.
Like when they cut to that little hand
Did
axe.
you guys, by the way?
Hey. There it is.
That's coming out too.
That's beautiful. I like that.
Yo, we get a little bit of them proceeds for the Wish on News since we were there for it.
Because you were there for it? Hell no.
I'm the one that said it. I'm the one that brought it up.
I got us there because I was like, this is the one film that Bruce doesn't reveal himself to the world.
And then I go, that line of dialogue is hilarious.
So what
check
we
the
did,
tape.
I will check the tape. I know exactly what happened. I misquoted it, and I said,
and I corrected you.
You corrected me, but I brought up the moment.
So he's taking credit for being. Schmodown doesn't do half points. You don't do half points for knowing some of the quotes.
Hold on, your microphone's not working.
Quick, Coy, speak over here.
That's true.
Shazam's greatest team of all time.
Yeah, why don't you sell some Merc shirt first, will you?
Cat soap.
Did I or did I not show up in a swag goddamn hoodie, bitch?
Right, so tell them.
That's true. That's true. That's
Swag
real.
goddamn swag hoodie, bitch.
There you go. There you go.
Nah, I'm on the Wish I Knew shirts now. I'm gonna wear that way first. I'm sorry, Mercs. That's a dope shirt.
But look, there was so much good in this movie. There really is, and I am excited to see it again. Do you guys know? Because I keep hearing conflicted reports. Is it because obviously it's not on HBO Max? Is it going to be on HBO Max?
45 days.
45 days.
45 because I heard 45 and then I heard 90.
45 is this year's
45. Okay.
Parameter. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's great.
And also, like, it's so long, it's good to marinate in. Like, it'll be good by that time.
45 is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, so
you can let it have its run, and also people can wait. And
it's
like,
because you're looking at probably May right around May when it comes out. So, and that's right as the summer season is starting anyway. So whether you're going to
like late April,
But it's also the thing that's beautiful about it is the fact that we'll be on to Doctor Strange by then. So by doing that, you're giving the people that are super hyped about that at that point. They can go have that, and then Kristian is like, okay, I wanted to sit with this another time.
That's all I'm going to be doing. Like, I'm gonna kick back and watch it here, and I can already see myself because this was a very, even I said it in the non-spoiler, was that this was a very different like critique when I had them. It had nothing to do with any direction. It had nothing to do with any of the writing. It had nothing to do with any of the music. It was literally just the fact that I was just feeling it could have gotten to it quicker. And I realized, and I'm wondering now that when I see it for a second time, that it's going to be less of a thing because I already know. It
feels a lot faster the second time because it's a movie that's about tension and mystery and gloom. And the second time you're like, okay, I'm excited for what's coming instead of like trying to piece it together.
Yeah,
so the second runtime felt a lot shorter for me.
I'm curious how because my wife is a Batman fan, and this is a darker one. It's very, and I like, this is the darkest Batman I think that we've got.
It's a mental health movie. Yeah. And I really like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does couple better with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker than anything.
Oh, as far as universes, I hope they don't do that. But
they're not going to.
No, they can't. Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne are in it.
But I just mean as far as tone goes, like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker fit in better in this than the Barry Keoghan one did.
Especially in that scene, the way they did it.
Work, and I'll tell you why. Remember, if we're taking it from the guise of Joker, as he's been known to do, loves to make up origin stories because we're never going to truly know what it is. He's lying to the therapist as a plan to escape from Arkham. I could see it feasibly working because remember, is Thomas Wayne a bad guy? We don't know. The Joker would make up some BS about him being a bad guy, and he may potentially, depending on his connections, might know that he was connected to Falcone for half a second.
And the description of his image would be through the description of Joaquin's Joker, unreliable narrator, and Bruce being a child could be how he perceives man-child Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
That's what I think of Bruce Willis, fucking man-child.
So I'm not touching that one.
But anyway,
So that's Freud or something else.
Trying to go with everything else that we hit because the beginning, the music. I mean, the music is still. I have to get that score because it's just.
I think it's my favorite superhero score.
It's amazing how good Michael Giacchino is because there are a lot. I mean, I'm a composer junkie, right? I'm a score. I love scores, and I can tell like when the late great James Horner would do a score, I could recognize his score like that because he would use a lot of different instruments, and sometimes like if you listen to like Legends of the Fall and Braveheart, there's a lot of similarities, the things that happen inside of it. And what Michael Giacchino does in this, it's like remember this guy has done Pixar movies, Star Wars movies, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which was a great score, and Spider-Man, this
just did it,
and he does this, and they sound so different. Like if you didn't tell me Michael Giacchino did this, I wouldn't know it was him. Yeah. And that is not easy to do. It really isn't. Like Hans Zimmer, you can pick out a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff.
John Williams.
A lot. I mean, there's I don't know. This was an impressive. He's always impressing me, but this is like it's so radically different than other stuff. Like if you compare like Up and this,
I've listened to it too, like in the wild, and I don't often do that with scores. Like it's not my thing, so it's really impressive for me that I'm like, I want to listen to this.
The only other scorer that I can think of, composer that I can think of that does something similar is Ludwig, and even Ludwig has a very small signature you can kind of pick out.
Yeah, I can tell Ludwig's stuff.
But Ludwig does a pretty good job of separating them. I mean, mind you, Boba Fett and Mandalorian, if that's like the what you're using as the guide in there.
He didn't do Boba Fett though.
He didn't.
He did the theme. He crafted some of the themes, but he didn't compose the score for the entire series.
Okay, great. But like, so some of the themes that would make sense because they are so close as characters.
Are you talking about Black Panther?
Yeah. But like Black Panther sounds vastly different from Mandalorian to me.
Yeah, for sure. But
I get what you're saying.
A lot of instruments. But if you like, and he did
grabs certain woodwinds
Creed,
and things.
but Creed and Mandalorian sound very similar.
Yes, and you can connect
Very
Creed
similar.
to Black Panther and Creed to Mandalorian,
Yes.
which connects kind of both. Like the woodwind stuff. His use of drums, his use of percussion and woodwind are really similar in all three.
But either way, though, Giacchino just puts out a score that when the introduction to the Batman
theme is like this is not even my favorite Batman theme.
It's just so good. And that scene, and I love that scene because it also you learn so much about this version of Batman like that. Like he wants to fight. Yeah. He's there not just for vengeance. He's there to cause harm. He is. Like he's not gonna kill you, but he's gonna mess you up, man, and he's gonna have fun doing it.
He loves instilling fear.
Yeah.
The fact that they don't go the standard ninja route except for like the one time, and instead every time he shows up, it's not like is he there? Is he there? It's literally just a as we mentioned, it's like, dude, what the
shadows?
hell?
Yeah, he's a brawler.
Because the only time he does it, I want to say, is around when the Penguin tries to get away, and so they're all like doing whatever that deal is at that particular time, and then he seems to be like popping out and like randomly taking people out. Otherwise, he's letting you know, I'm coming to whoop your ass.
And also, I love how he uses martial arts defensively with Catwoman, because that shows his martial art ninja skills, but he doesn't do that with the brawlers because he just brawls. Like we see a lot of fight styles, because this fight style aerially is a totally different, more Krav Maga based like flip fight style than the one when he's brawling on the ground versus Catwoman.
And I like that scene.
We see
and
I
like that scene where he's also paying, tracking her at first, and then going back to the mayor's place, and then they have that whole scene and that connection that she's got, because they dive deep into her and into her connection to the woman who ultimately gets murdered by her dad, and like, so again, the writing of it wasn't, and as I said in the beginning of it, I was so locked into the detective story and the John Doe 7 thing. So when they took that detour with Selena and Falcone, it wasn't that I thought it was badly written. On the contrary, I actually think it's very well written because they set it up from the get.
Yeah.
Right. It's just that's partially what I mean with the length of it. That maybe if you were gonna, there's sometimes in movies that things have been cut that work.
Yeah.
But they were cut to knock the movie down to a little bit more to a 2:15 or earlier, right? There's certain scenes in like in the prequels. There's a whole scene that happens in the Revenge of the Sith where they're starting like the rebellion. It's a really good scene with Mon Mothma and everything too, and it actually now connects a lot more stuff now than and could have been in there, but he would have added another 5 minutes to the film. But I think that obviously with the way that this all connects with Falcone at the end, I understand why it's in there. You get to that point that if you start chopping too much out of it, it doesn't connect in the rhythm that Matt Reeves wants.
Yeah, and the detectiveness. Yeah. You want multiple subplots, so it's not just one linear detective story. Yeah. So,
but I love that detective story.
Man, it's so good.
So good. That's what we've been waiting for Batman forever.
And I really love that I didn't anticipate a lot of it because I was so afraid, having just reread the comics, I ruined it for myself. And it's clear that they read the comics to subvert comic fan and casual fan expectations.
It was true, Winston. So let's go back in time when we were on Collider Live, and Roxy and I said, you know, it would be a great Batman, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
and you wanted to fight us.
Yeah, I remember. I did want to fight you.
Yeah,
I wanted to walk up to you the way that Batman walked in that first. Who's just.
And how do you feel now?
I think that Robert Pattinson, because I knew before going into this, because you made me go watch Good Time and other stuff like that, that he had the chops to pull it off. Yeah, I think he's probably top. He might be the best Batman, if I'm being honest.
So this is why I do have Winston on the show, not just to admit that when he's wrong, but because there are a lot of people though that will stand and say, like, even though if he knew in his head he's a pretty good Batman, but it's just like, no, I'm not. No, of course, but it's also the fact, the idea of like, you want to be able to have that conversation because it's like, as fans, you're like, the idea that you now have this different version of Batman and inside the stuff that you always wanted to see, Winston, like that they were able to do it. And it also, it's a testament to what Matt Reeves is able to pull out of him, because Matt Reeves pulls great performances out of actors.
He really does.
Yeah.
I think he might be the best Batman. Probably one of my lower tier Bruce Waynes.
Yeah,
but
give that time,
but what Coy said, we didn't get a chance to fully meet him yet, so it's fine. But he really just kind of mastered everything that's going on there, including, and again, I cannot stick enough. It really stuck with me, that adrenaline shot. It was literally, because that is one of the things that Batman deals with a lot, especially in the younger stories, or once you deal with like the Dark Knight Returns and type stuff like that. That rage is always just below. What is going to finally push him there to like lose it? So that was really interesting to me. So I would say for now, as far as just straight Batman, he's probably my favorite Batman, if I'm being honest.
All right, everybody. I've told you about MeUndies. I love MeUndies. I've been using MeUndies since the Schmoes No days. They're comfortable and wearing them right now. Relaxing. You find comfort. You have to find comfort in your undies, whether it's loungewear or MeUndies has it all. It's so wonderful. They've got pajama pants. They got underwear. They have everything. Socks. I was wearing some of their socks today. Very comfortable. I love it. And I like it because it just fits every season. It really does. And imagine the softest thing that you guys have ever felt. Now imagine that same thing, but now it's on your butt. You're thinking about MeUndies. That's what they do. They're designed by the country's top softness scientists to be the softest thing that you've ever worn in your life. I'm guaranteeing it. I've done it. I've been doing it for years. Whether it's undies, loungewear, the fabrics are breathable, they're light, and they're almost irresponsibly cozy. Really, I'm telling you, you might not be able to stop lounging on the couch because you just be so comfortable in your underwear. You've been warned. And it's available in all sizes, extra small through 4 extra large, in a variety of classic colors and iconic prints. MeUndies, it's going to have your back and your butt all season long. MeUndies has a great offer for our listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you're going to get 15% off and free shipping. MeUndies also has their problem-free philosophy. If you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, they're going to refund it or exchange it. There's no caveats, no questions. To get 15% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, you have to go to MeUndies.com/big thing. That's MeUndies.com/big thing. Let's talk about stupid people, though.
Okay.
Why do they keep shooting him in the chest?
When they see him
see
right
his
there.
face.
I mean, that one guy that had the longest ever, he's going to shoot him in the head, but he's taking his time.
Shoot him in the face.
He's right there. It's got a chin.
My only guess, do either of you shoot?
No.
I don't.
Okay, so the only thing is, the one thing you're really taught, unless you're a sharpshooter, is to
You're more likely to miss.
aim for mass.
Sure.
So you're thinking maybe if I put like 5, 6, 7, 8 bullets from like an automatic weapon in the same spot, you might put
Penetrate
the armor
whatever.
down.
Yeah.
The same thing with Kevlar. Once it takes like a couple bullets, you're not even just the first. The integrity goes down.
Yeah.
So my only thought for people that are shooting, you're in panic mode.
I can take suspension of disbelief.
Oh,
it's the
for
same,
sure.
It's the same thing, the same conversation that we've had many times over, like every single time. Why don't they
Unmask Spider-Man.
Why don't they unmask Batman? Like when they even say it, I love that they said it though, because he's laying there after he gets hurt and he's laying there with the cops, and I'm like, my first thought before they even said anything is, why didn't they unmask this guy?
Yeah.
And then they even say, they go, we should be unmasking this guy.
Yeah.
And I was
All
like,
the cop stuff really worked for me.
It
I
did.
loved the crime scenes because I
the
love
crooked cops, the idea
One
of it,
cop
and how broken Gotham is.
Yeah.
The one cop that hates him so much, and by the time he goes back to the scene and he's like, I gotta rip this carpet up, he's like,
Ramirez, that cop was so good.
I get that would now, like you said, Matt Reeves brings the best out of his actors. He went and found the perfect dude to play that cop that becomes a believer by the end of it.
Yeah.
That was so well cast.
The slow burn of that cop and the slow burn of the kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I
even
loved the supporting characters getting arcs.
Well, even the beginning when they first when they're looking at the crime scene, and then the higher up comes in to tell Gordon, get this dude out of here, and then we find out that guy was crooked.
Yeah.
And we find out that guy was tortured by
Also,
the Riddler.
the little moments of Batman looking at clues, so they'll take photos of it.
Yeah.
Like when he sees the edge of the carpet thing, and then they notice to take a photo.
Yeah.
Like that's such great.
Oh, and I love that scene. It was heartbreaking when the mayor's kid is there and Bruce is looking at him. Basically, he's recording him, but he's seeing himself inside of that kid, and he's like, "We got to go, man." Like that. It was great. It was
and then that
really,
kid at the funeral scene, like he's the one that saves him. Like Bruce Wayne saves the kid, and that's a beautiful, very metaphorical saving himself as a kid. Like it's a really beautiful scene.
We haven't really talked about that
Connect,
scene.
yeah.
We haven't talked about that scene, the church scene.
Oh, dude,
So
that to me might have been the highlight of the entire film
really
for
good.
me. The church scene from start to finish. So
the Falcone interaction, the Penguin.
The Falcone interaction, the Penguin interaction, the fact that you had the new mayor already trying to get Bruce to be like, why aren't you doing more for the city? You can do more.
Yeah.
Then you end up in the bomb hostage situation where Bruce or Batman gets to finally meet the Riddler and doing a standard Riddler thing. That's the one thing I felt like we always miss from Batman Forever. It's not just the little riddles he leaves behind. It's sometimes he does get locked in a, you're going to answer my questions
Real
or whatever.
time. Yeah.
That is very Riddler.
Yeah.
Oh, you better figure it out. Like very Saw. That is something,
It's a total horror movie. Yeah.
So that to me was the highlight of the film.
Yeah.
There's a lot to love, but that whole sequence and that guy fearing for his life.
Peter Skarsgård
You know what?
dying to keep the secret because he knew he's dead anyway, and rather going out that way. That was such a great, like, Gotham is so corrupt. This guy's like, blow my head off.
Do you know that the Riddler reminded me as during all the other stuff with the crooked people that were going on, because there was a corruption thing that he was going after, and as you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I can see why. It's like it's strange. Like he's the anti-Batman or what he's doing, but then when he was going after Thomas Wayne, right, as one of the guys, and Bruce Wayne as well, I thought he was basically Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
He was throw rocks first. I don't know all the facts. All I know is that there's a couple things that I know and things that I've heard. So that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
That's why I enjoyed the whole online persona element.
Well,
like
but what I'm saying is that Thomas Wayne to me was that, like, you don't know the pure history of all of it. So instead of just deeming the guy, boom, 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 boom.
You're specifically talking about Bruce and his response to hearing
I'm
about
talking about how I think the Riddler.
how the Riddler took it. Okay.
The Riddler to me
Got it.
represented the worst of social media.
Sure.
And of just without finding everything that was going on.
Well, it's people that feel like they don't have a voice. And I think a lot of social media is people that develop a platform after being voiceless for so long that use it aggressively because they feel
That's what I'm
alone.
saying.
Yeah, and like that's where trolls are born is from the darkness.
I get where you're going with that, Christian, for sure. I think the only reason why this feels a little different is because that had time to simmer over years, and all that we really knew of this Riddler, of this Edward Nygma or John Doe or whatever, is
I'm saying him with Thomas Wayne.
You're saying specifically the
just
Riddler
the Thomas Wayne
with
part.
Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, just the Thomas Wayne part.
But that's what I'm saying. I actually...
Because he didn't do his research on it. And the reason why we don't find out about Thomas Wayne. The real reason why he did what he did was because to protect his wife. It wasn't everybody else that he was going after were corrupt. They were taking for money. They were trying for power. They were abusing power. But he didn't do all of his research. He found one thing that he found. And basically like someone said something, he posted it, and then said, "That's it, Thomas Wayne. You're guilty. Guilty by association. Guilty." And it's like, but he wasn't. He did a bad thing.
I guess I agree. He did do a bad thing,
but not a bad guy.
But I guess part of why I can see that we already know he's not mentally stable.
Sure.
That. But the reason why I would buy into that is, remember, this was his foundation that was set up. What was the name of it again? It was the
Renewal.
Renewal. It was the Renewal Fund.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be one of the things that again was supposed to take care of all those boys.
Right.
So I can already see if this person has promised you all of this, and then you find out that they are actually associated with all these actual bad people.
You have an agenda. You have an agenda to destroy him.
So I bought that a little bit more. I get what you're saying about how it's a metaphor for the social media stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff seems more like flash in a pan. I hear one thing immediately and I go off. Whereas this felt like there was enough breadcrumbs that it did take more, like a lot of investigative work to find out.
Yeah,
about
I just think
Thomas.
I just think it was a clear agenda to say, okay, let me find anything I can about him, and then because once he found out the one thing he wanted to, he stopped his research. He could have researched more and found that out if he wanted to, but he found out the negative and he found out what he wanted to find to destroy him because of exactly what you just said. He felt wronged by this guy for a long time, and he decided, you know what? Here's the bad thing I found, because if someone said, well, wait a minute, do some more. What's the reason behind it? I don't care.
I also really like that Renewal felt like a Thomas Wayne thing from the comics that would cause corruption. I like that, in the Batman Nolan universe, we've got the train, we've got all those infrastructure things he did for the city. I like the idea that Thomas Wayne tried to leave $1 billion trust to fix the city, because that is something he would do. Yeah. Like he's a generous billionaire in a way.
I loved what they did with Thomas Wayne.
That was so genius to have Renewal be corrupt. Like it's so, and it's also so real. Like we have funds that are stolen by government officials. We have funds that are stolen by elected officials. I like that we're doing more real, plausible things in our superhero movies because that's how they stay relevant.
Yeah. All right, listen. This is a fun conversation. We enjoyed talking about it. The Batman is in theaters. Hopefully, obviously, if you guys have been watching this, you've seen it. We know that the comments are going to come in fast and furious. We are going to be doing Mask of Phantasm rewatch on the Patreon this month with myself, Coy, and Winston. So make sure if you're not signed up to the SCN Patreon, you do. The link is in the description. Speaking of Batman and Batman trivia and Winston A. Marshall, Winston was on the desk with Mark Ellis, and there was a Batman match between Kevin Smets and Mike Kalinowski. It's one of the funniest matches we've ever done. The iCard is right there, and the link in the description. Go and check that out. And if you haven't checked out the movie Trivia Schmodown, you should go and check it out.
Oh, Kristian, and by the way, we did a Batman exhibition match with Kevin Smets and Mike Kalinowski, and it was so good. I was on the desk.
You were.
Y'all should check it out.
You think?
I think
double plug works for me. So,
I see what you did there.
But you should check it out, though, because Schmodown now is it's back. It's really different. We're back in studio. If you've never seen it before, if you've never checked it out and you think you're good at trivia, you should go and check that out for sure. It's Imagine Monday Night Raw, but instead of wrestling, they're playing trivia. That's what you should go and check out. It's Friday Night Titans. It's every Friday. We just had our first episode debut this past Friday, so please check that out.
Where do you rank this? And we did the ranking of the 7. Where do you
It's hard
put this?
for me to say that because as of today, without rewatching it, it's tough because you're also talking about enjoyment of watching the movie. Because remember, I enjoyed watching. I think that Dark Knight Rises is a better movie than Batman '89. I do.
Okay.
But I just had fun watching in the rewatch. I had more fun watching the '89 because it was a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, I like your double rankings.
That's why I double ranked it. I ranked it for what it did for me versus objective filmmaking if I'm just looking at it as a film.
So objective filmmaking, I would probably put this as number 3 or 4. I'd probably put it 3. I would say number 1 is Dark Knight, number 2 is Batman Begins, number 3 is this, then Dark Knight Rises, then Batman '89, then Forever. Well, I mean, no, even though Batman Begins is a better made film than Batman Forever. If you, film wise, not enjoyment wise, and then Forever, and then shitbox city.
It's 2 for me, so I'm only a little above you guys. I just Dark Knight, this begins for me, and then the rest.
You've also seen it.
I've also,
times.
so.
I need
3 by the time
I need a couple more watches, and then but right just off first jump for me, it's at number 3. But who knows? It could usurp. I'll be honest, it's not going to usurp the Dark Knight. No matter what, even with some of these performances, I'll just be honest. I can't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe a year from now, I change my tune. But I just don't think
you also got to wait for the second movie, right? Because that's the other reason why Dark Knight was so good.
Yeah,
because Batman Begins was so good.
That's fair.
And so when you get whatever the second movie is going to be of the Batman, it could jump past all those.
Arguably, you have to look at it like a trilogy. That's fair. You can't really compare this until it's got as much Nolan.
No, that's why I told when people were asking, is it better than Nolan stuff? I go, it's not fair to even compare it. It's one because there's a positive and there's a negative, right? The positive is if it's as good as we hope it's going to be with Matt Reeves, then it could get better and better and better. Or it could turn out to be a Matrix type thing, or it could turn out to be a Star Wars sequel type thing where you're like, because I watched Force Awakens recently, and I really enjoyed the movie when I saw it, and now it's so disappointing because I know what comes afterwards. I'm like, I don't really enjoy watching as much. I don't think that's going to happen with Matt Reeves, but it's possible. So it's too hard to rank them right now to say it's better than the Nolan trilogy or it's not better because I don't know it. I haven't seen the entire story yet.
I also hope they keep diving into the mental health of Gotham. I like the hierarchy of wealth. I like this world setup so much that I really... Plus, we're going to get shows, which we didn't get with Nolan. I'm excited to live in Gotham with Penguin and the GCPD.
Which will also add to it.
It'll elevate everything. And this is a rich enough world in one movie. I want all of that.
Well, look at the way Peacemaker elevated... I mean, and I already love the Suicide Squad.
But it did elevate.
It elevated the hell out of it.
Really does. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but there's parts that happen that there's a reason for certain things that happen in the Suicide Squad that they reference back to this, and you're like, that makes a lot of sense. And it makes so much more sense. So when you, Peacemaker, who you already know from watching the series, when you go back and watch the Suicide Squad, it's elevated. So same goes to Obi-Wan. Could be the same thing when it happens. So I think these shows are a massive way to continue and help. So,
I think this is the best universe launch movie we've had in a while. I feel like a new universe was born, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I think that I'm excited to watch it again. And I definitely want to see a second movie. You said it's not going to be another 4 years?
The quote I heard was the team said within the next 5 years, and I just thought that was insane because usually they're like 2 years because the climate we're in.
No chance Warner Brothers lets
There's
them
no
do
way.
that.
But it was interesting to hear that from someone
But I would appreciate 3 to 4
with Gotham and Penguin coming out.
But because you have Penguin, I'd be okay with 3 to 4.
Does Batman show up in Penguin, you think?
I think you need to a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to go full blown. But if you even give me like a Luke Skywalker end of Mandalorian 2 scenario, that would work.
Yeah,
I think so.
If he's in there for a few things and he pops in there and you can still get him because. I don't know, man. 3, I think 4 years is too much. I think 2 is too soon. I think 3 is a perfect balance.
I'd like 3 because I feel like people that watched it as a freshman at their graduated high school, like that age grab, like that's a problem.
When did Reeves wrote this? Yeah.
Did he?
When did he start writing this? Is my question because we were going back and forth.
4 years ago.
Was this 4 years ago?
So that's part because part of it was dealing with the whole.
But that movie was. But that's the thing. The movie was so. Think about this movie was supposed to come out in like what 2020
2021
okay so
October
so
Halloween
so that's how you have to look at it. So if he wrote it 4 years ago right so then
it's because of 2021 not because of 2022
so it would have been 2 years to write it then.
Yes about 2 years to write it and
just give him that amount of time because what I get worried about like for example I know that Jordan Peele was like penning us but it was very clear Get Out he'd been writing for years. I'm not asking for that.
It's the debut album problem.
It was the debut album, that hunger, that drive to get that specific product comes out. It blows you out of the water. The next one, it comes so quickly on the heels. It doesn't have that quite zip. So if you give me 3 years, so they get a solid 2 years to really lock this script down, and then you already have most of your key players. You just got to cast like new characters that need to come in.
Yeah.
Perfect for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Well, let's hear what you guys have to say. I'm sure there's a lot of comments, a lot of conversation. We are ready for it, so make sure that you guys go ahead and comment. And if you have been listening to this show and you haven't shown a little class, please do. Subscribe, will you? Subscribe, show some class, and hit the subscribe button, the notification button, the like button, all of that. Let's have a conversation here. I will not lie to anybody. With the Movie Trivia Schmodown Season 9, I've been trying to get to as many comments, and I need to take a a flight to Australia so I can go and do all the comments to respond to everybody, because it's a good problem to have. But it's a lot. It's a lot of comments. I haven't been able to catch up. So people are going, oh, you stopped commenting back? I haven't. I just have been I've been overwhelmed. But I'm going to keep trying, and I keep doing it. But thank you to Winston Marshall and to Coy. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys very soon. We'll be back hopefully next Friday doing another show here, and we're trying to figure out our next rewatch. All right. Peace out, everybody.